Hello everyone, I'm Chris O'Hara and I'm back for another guitar tutorial, and today we got the Foo Fighters. It's this new single. It's called Something From Nothing, and I'm going to walk you through all the parts that I figured out, and I think I'm pretty close. I was using a program called Transcribe to figure out all the parts and to help me isolate the rhythm guitar parts. Definitely check out my links below. I have some tutorials on this program. It's a great program to be able to figure out songs by ear. So like I said, I'm going to go through all the main guitar parts, and there are a lot in this song, so just keep that in mind, and I'm going to try to get you all the good stuff, all the good main parts to this song. So if you're interested in taking some private lessons with me, check out the links below. You can go to my website and you can sign up for some Skype lessons, or if you're in the San Jose Bay Area, you can we can do an in-person lesson. All right, well, let's get started with this guitar lesson. All right, so let's start with the intro to this song. It starts off with just guitar, and it's kind of a little finger picking thing. And the nice thing is it's pretty simple. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our thumb on the fifth string and our first and second finger here on the third and second string, and we're going to be toggling back and forth like this. And what he does is he switches from the playing on the fifth string with the thumb to the sixth string and back and forth. Let me show you what I mean. It goes like this. So what you're going to have to work on is getting the balance in the right hand so all of the notes can be heard. So you have to take a, practice a little bit of that and listen for the sound, making sure that the bass is not too loud, or making sure that it's loud enough in comparison with these other strings. The good thing is what he's going to do is he's going to continue that method of picking that kind of back and forth motion in the right hand, and then just working his way down to the third fret, and then back to the seventh, and then open. So let me show you how that goes. Now this part here is a half a measure. So it's a full measure, so if you count it like this, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and next fret, 3 and 4 and 1, 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. Now this is that half measure on this to an open full measure on that. It's pretty simple if you can get that right hand part down. The left hand is just moving down the neck, and then back up to the seventh, and then the open, so it's not too bad. The nice thing is the next part is going to be doing exactly the same thing, except now it gets a little trickier because we have to do a slightly different finger picking pattern. So the first finger and the second finger are now going to be on the bottom two strings. Thumb is going to be on the top string, or not, sorry, the fifth string. And it does a pattern like this. So what that is, I'm starting with the thumb, first finger on the second string here, and then I go strike these together, which is going to be the first string and the fifth string, back to the second string, and then it's a repeat, so it goes like this. I'll slow maybe it down just a little bit more. Sounds like this. The nice thing is that pattern stays the same. We work just down the neck just like we did before, using now this finger picking pattern. So let me show you what that looks like. I'm gonna go in slow for this. Just like before, this is a half a measure to that note, open. So what I'm kind of going for is to get the sound of this note going. That bass note there. And so make sure you kind of get that heard in that part. Just like that. You may want to just spend some time on that first one, working with the right hand, getting the picking just right. So after they play that part, then it's going to go into this cool little riff that goes like this. And what that is, it's kind of this nice little riff on the top two strings. It starts with a 0 on the 6th string, and then it goes to 2nd, 3rd fret, and then I'm going to slide up into the 5th fret on the 5th string, like this. And then it goes down to the 4th fret, and to the 5th fret on the 6th string. So let me do that real slow. And finger-wise, you can really do this a lot of different ways. I'm using my 1st and 2nd here. I'll probably try to slide with my 3rd finger into the 5th if I didn't do that before. And I like to play this note here, which is an A, versus the A and the open string, because I can get a little vibrato on it for that note there. And then after that, he goes into a C chord, just a standard C chord. And then he goes up to here to a E power chord on the 7th fret, 7, 9, 9. And then it sounds like he goes down to an A7 chord. Now there may be, again, there's multiple guitar parts, so somebody may be playing just a regular A. But it sounded like I heard the 7th in there. And then it's going to go back into the part, the finger picking part, that is. But then over that part, there's this cool little, actually with this little slide part was in the first part of it, first finger picking part. You'll hear it. It sounds like this. I don't have a slide, so I'm just going to kind of fake it here, but it goes like this. So that's pretty simple. You can play it all in one string if you want. Starts here on the I'm starting this line here on the 5th fret, 2nd string. So we strike that and get a little vibrato in it. Kind of move my kind of wrist this way to get that vibrato, this back and forth, as opposed to this way. Sometimes I see people try to go this way. I'm really just kind of rocking that wrist, and I use this part of my hand as kind of a pivot point to rest against the guitar to give it that leverage I need to get that vibrato. And I like to use my 1st finger to slide. It's a strong finger. You could use your 3rd, but because I'm going to end up down here, it'll feel a little awkward if I'm on my 3rd here. So that's why I do it. So it goes, and then it's going to go up to the 8th fret, kind of slide up to that 8th fret, down to the 4th fret, then back up to the 8, down to 3, it's all on the 2nd string, back up to 8, down to 2. And then he doesn't go back to the 8, he just goes down to the 1st fret, and then he's going to go up to the 5th fret, and then the 8th fret. Pretty simple little part. Then it goes back into the does that twice, and then it goes back and does these chords again. Except going up, instead of going up to this power chord up here, it sounded like he went to this lower one here. And then to the A. You're going to build that into the main riff, which is this. But before that, let me kind of go over that rhythm on that. So we have 1, 2, Oops, sorry, it is the other way. 2, 3, 4. So again, these are like kind of like 2 beats each. 1, 2, 3, 4, and this is a whole measure. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now let me show you that main riff. It's really cool. I'm barring on the 7th fret on the 5th string and 4th string, and you can either use your 3rd or 4th finger to hammer on to the 9th fret right here on the 4th string. What I'm doing is I'm using this 1st finger to mute this 6th string, and I'm trying to lightly mute these bottom strings as well. So if I accidentally hit more strings than I need, this finger is kind of muting that. I'm also kind of careful on the right hand a little bit, trying to be as precise as I can with this. So it sounds like this. And I kind of added these little chickas in there to give it sounds like that's what they were doing. It gives a little bit more rhythmic energy to it. Whoops. And I'm kind of muting it as I go up these chords here, which is on the 7th fret to the 9th to the 10th. So that's kind of how I'm interpreting that little section there. So work on that little hammer on. It's tough. It's like I said, you can either use your 4th finger or your 3rd. So again, if I slow it down maybe a little bit more. Just like that. It's kind of tricky, but it's a good technique to get down. Now the bass player, this is also something you may hear in this section of it. The bass player is playing an idea like this. He varies it quite a bit, but just to kind of generalize what he's doing. So you'll definitely hear that sound in there, but I was really listening closely, and it sounds like the main stereo guitar tracks are doing what I just showed you there before. There could be, it's hard to tell, but there could be another guitar that's doubling the bass in there doing that. But I really think there's this part in here. So he repeats that a bunch of times, and it kind of goes into the verse, and then it's going to go back into this these chords here, but then there's this part that's played over. What that is it's kind of a riff over a C chord, starting on this, where I'm starting is on the 3rd fret, and then we're going to slide all the way down to from the 5 to the 7, and then I'm going to end up on the 5 on the 4th string. So 3, 5 to 7 slide, and then the 5th fret on the 4th string here. And then he slides up from 7 to 9 on the 4th string, and then pull off 7 to 5 on the 4th string, and then going back to this note here. The last part is going to be a hammer on from 5 to 7 on the 4th string. Just like that. It goes like this. He had a little vibrato in there, maybe a little bit slower for you guys. It's a nice little lick there. And then it's going to go back into this main little part there after it does that. Actually, let me back up a second. So it does that riff twice, okay? So it does that twice, and then he's just going to play the chords. Just like we did before, it's going to build back into this. Now, when he goes back into this part, it's kind of, he does this cool little part in there. There's these stereo guitar tracks. So this is twice before this next part that I'm going to show you comes in. So we do it twice. So what that little additional part in there is this. These are these sharp 9 chords, better known as the Hendrix chord. But the way they play it is here on the 9th, 10th, and 11th fret. Now, you can play this however you want. I think a lot of times out of habit, I'm using my 1st, 3rd, and 4th finger, partly because the whole this Hendrix chord, or the sharp 9 chord, the full version is this shape here. But I'm not sure that they're hitting this note here. That's why I'm kind of just playing it here, which will allow you to also play it with this fingering. 1, 2, 3, and I'm on 9, 10, and 11. 4th string, 3rd string, 2nd string. So again, you can kind of play around with it. My preference is 1st finger, 3rd finger, and 4th finger right there. So the rhythm goes like this, da 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 da. So you're going down, up, and then it does the same rhythm here. You move the whole shape over down to this, so this is on the 6th, 7th, and then this is going to be the 8th. It goes back up. And then what it sounded like, he does this after he does those. And that I'm playing octaves for this part here. So if you don't know what an octave is, if you're on the, let's say you're on the 5th string, 7th fret, you skip over a string and then you play 2 frets down from that on the 3rd string. And I was using my 4th finger. You can use your 3rd. A lot of people like to use your 3rd. Doesn't make any difference as long as you get the sound right. So what I'm also doing is I'm muting a lot of strings with this 1st finger here. I'm muting this top one. I'm also muting these bottom 2. I'm also muting the string in between, which is the most important one to mute. So I'm trying to do the best I can to get just these sounds, or these 2 strings ringing. I'm going 7, 7, 9, 10, 9. And this is, I move the pattern up to the 6th string for the last one, which is going to be here on, what is that? Come on, Chris, count. 9 and 11 right here. Just like that. Then it gets, after it does that, it's going to go back into the main riff again. And it does that a ton of times. And you're going to hear this being played a lot before it gets into this next part, which is this nice power chord descending line that goes like this. Oops, kind of made a little mistake on that last one, but I think you guys get the idea. So what this is, let me walk you through this section. So we got this power chord here. It's on the 7th fret, and I'm using all 3 finger power chord here, so 7, 9, 9 to give it that kind of fatten up the sound of it. I'm just working my way down to the 6th fret, to the 5th fret, and then to the 4th fret, down to the 3rd fret, and the rhythm is like this: 1, 2, 3, down, down. So they're changing on beat 4 in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, that kind of thing. So after they play that through once, he comes in with this little lead line like this. What that is, we start here on the, kind of slide into this 7th fret here, 5 to 7. I'm going to the 5 after that slide, so slide up to the 7th fret, to the 5th fret on the 4th string. I hit that 2 more times, so. And there's that pull off right there. That's that 7 to 5 pull off. Then it does basically the same kind of riff, but and it goes through, kind of follows the chord. So we hit the 5th fret here. So what that part is 5. It's kind of like what we saw before in that other little riff there. We have 5 sliding up to 7 to 9, And this is the 7th fret here. Pull off. So here it is slowly. Then we move it down to the 3rd fret. Move everything over 2 frets, and then we move it up to the 6th string. But it only plays up to here because then it's going to come in with this to repeat through that sequence again. So let me kind of do it again. So all right, so then it goes through that. I usually play that once, and then I'm going to go through these, play through those chords a bunch of times, and then we get into this little part where it's going. It sounds, I'm not sure exactly what the effect is, but it's going to be this sort of. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of muting these strings here. And I'm doing a little bit of a bend. Let me try that again. So here, I'm starting here on the 12th fret, using my first finger to bar across these strings here, and to kind of give it that, again, to mute the other strings. And it sounds like he's slightly bending those each time he hits it. I mean, it's just so subtle, but that's what it kind of sounds like to me. And then you get there's a little bit of a slide going up to that next note, which is on the 14th fret. And he does it sounded like a bend to me on that 14th fret. And it's going back to that 12th fret. And then the 8th fret. So let me do that again. Oops. So he repeats that twice, and then the second time through, when he lands on that 9th fret, it's just going to sound like he goes into an octave. And that's building back into the section like that. Then, so when we go into that, this is the last kind of run out to the end of the song. Does that a bunch of times, and you hear him come into with this thing, which sounds like an octave. Kind of help build it up. And there is a solo in there. It's very subtle in the mix. I'm not going to cover that in this lesson. I'm just going to cover this main little ending little part here. But what this is we have an octave. Again, it's sliding into this 12th fret, and I'm using my 4th finger, so because it's a kind of a wider stretch for the octave on these strings here. So this is the 10th fret, and this is the 7th fret, and I'm sliding that into the 12th fret up here. And I'm being careful to mute these adjacent strings, especially the one in between here. And that's just walking up from a 12 to a 14 to 15. Oops. Just like that. Repeats out, I think, a total of 4 times. And then for the big ending, we have... goes back to that riff, but he ends on that 4th fret on the 5th string. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Hopefully you found it helpful. Please let me know. And this is a great song to play. Add it to your repertoire of things. And if you're having a hard time with it, let me know. Maybe post a video and I'll be happy to kind of check it out for you and give you some feedback on that. And so there you go. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.